Joining us now is tech expert Amber Meck, who has 5 smart STEM toys to tell us about that will inspire your children to think outside the box this holiday season. Welcome back, Amber.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's no secret that science, technology, engineering, and math skills are essential to academic and professional success. Yet so many children lose interest in STEM learning. And you're here to encourage people to focus their gift giving this year on gifts that promote an interest in STEM. That's great. So where do we start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're exactly right. I think a lot of kids, they lose that interest in those different STEM topics. But the good news is there are a lot of really fun toys out this holiday season that also have kind of STEM baked into them. So maybe the kids don't realize that they're learning along the way, but they actually are. So what I did is I went through the Actua gift guide and I picked out 5 different gifts that are great for the holiday season. The first one is a little cute robot. It's Cosmo Robot by Anki. And it's absolutely adorable. The best thing about this little robot is that kids can use the app on their phone and they can learn how to program the robot so they can make the robot move around, and while they're having tons of fun, they're also learning basic coding skills.
So what's the price range of this, and what age group would the children need to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the price on this is about $190. The age range, it kind of runs the gamut. I would say for most kids, it's probably 8 to about 12, maybe even up to 14. It's for those kids who still like to play with toys, but also have some basic technical skills. So it really is for kids, who love little electronics, love robots, and can understand how to navigate their way around an app. Although let's be honest, that age is getting younger and younger all the time.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking. Like maybe 3. I don't know.
It's going that direction.
What else do you have?
Yeah, so for the younger kids, so let's say the kids who are between the ages of maybe 4 to 8, we have these great magnetic wooden blocks. And what these are is these blocks that have magnets attached to them, and they allow kids to understand basic engineering. So if you imagine the blocks of when we were little kids, they were just basic little blocks. Well, they've really evolved so kids can build these amazing structures. They can build anything that's in their imagination. What's great about these blocks as well is they're non-toxic, which of course more families are thinking seriously about. And again, it allows them to have that tactile skill because there's still a lot to be said about actually building something and using your hands.
Is this the Tegu?
Yes, this is the Tegu magnetic block set. The nice thing about this set is that, let's say you have a set that you buy for your child this holiday season, then you get one for their birthday, all of them work together. So that's really a nice feature. So it's not as though, it's the end of their creativity. It really is building on their creativity, no pun intended.
Well, something else I like about this, it says it's no lead, no plastic, non-toxic, water-based lacquer finish, no small parts, but it was made in Honduras from sustainably sourced hardwoods, so you can feel good about what you're giving as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're seeing this more and more with parents today as they're very conscious about where they are buying toys. They're very conscious about the material that is in the toys. And of course, they're also very conscious of the educational value of the toys as well. And that's why I think a lot of parents are thinking seriously about what their kids are actually playing with this year.
Now, this next one interests me, Sphero Mini. I'm looking at it thinking, what does that do?
It's a great question because you can imagine this is about the size of a tennis ball, except it has this cute little face on it and it rolls all around your house. But it's an app-controlled robot. But the robot doesn't look like a traditional robot. Instead, it looks like this little ball. And the neat thing about this is that there are a couple of things that kids can do. Like the robot I just mentioned, they can control things through an app. They can also use a feature called Face Drive. And that means you can control the actual little ball with different expressions on your face. So you can imagine that the ball kind of sees where you are, can see those facial expressions. Kids love this, and a lot of games that you can play as well. Again, this is all about that introduction to coding and how to make these tiny little robots work in a kid's environment.
Amazing. Facial recognition, and we adults are still waiting for it in a whole bunch of things.
My facial recognition is cleaning my glasses these days. That's about it.
Love it.
Okay, what else? This is great.
Yeah, another thing on the list is the Geo Safari talking microscope. And this is for those little kids, I would say, ages kind of 4 and up. And what's great about this talking microscope is it teaches them basic science skills. let's face it, I have a son who's 9 years old, and he still loves to pick things up in the garden and look at them really closely, whether it's a bug or a rock that he found. Now this microscope lets them put this underneath the microscope. It has incredible zoom, and it's kid friendly. So if you can imagine an adult microscope, and all of a sudden they've taken it and they've made it colorful with purple and green and blue, really vivid colors, and very kid friendly, so that kids can learn with their first microscope that actually talks back to them as well and teaches them along the way.
I can see this because I'm looking at it on the site, and it also has other things that go with it, like the walkie-talkie, a GeoSafari walkie-talkie, and junior kidnoculars for binoculars. So you could have a whole scientific exploration day, go out, see what you find, and bring it back and examine it. It could be a lot of fun.
You know what, I was just thinking, wouldn't I love to be Amber's son at Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's a little too savvy for me, to be honest with you. He's
already.
He's sort of leapfrogging me as far as his technical expertise.
So. But last but not least, you have a best-selling book for girls.
Yeah, so this is really important, and as I mentioned off the top of the segment, this is a list that was put together from ACTUA, which is the largest STEM outreach program in Canada, and they're really focused on teaching kids of all ages basic STEM skills, but there's a particular focus on girls. And what I love about this book, it's called Girls Think of Everything, and it's basically a book that includes amazing stories of female inventors and scientists, because there's that whole saying out there that you can't be it unless you can see it. And I think it's about introducing girls to other women who have achieved a significant level of success in STEM. So it's really that introduction for kids who are looking for role models in that category.
Now, when parents go out to, let's say, price out and look at some of these amazing toys, do you think if they buy something that's sort of for an older range, it might discourage a younger child? Should they really stick to that age, or should they trust their instincts about how involved their child is?
Yeah, I think that's a really fair question, because let's be honest, I mentioned my son is 9, but he's pretty far advanced when it comes to technical skills, but he has friends who really don't have the same level of expertise. So my advice for parents is, look at the range that perhaps is on the box or on the website, but at the end of the day, you really have to know your child, and you have to understand their level of experience with certain technical skills. So I think it's more about trusting your gut and knowing what is right for them.
You said that all of these things can be found via one site?
Yeah, absolutely. So ACTUA has put up a site that really you can use year round. It's called actua.ca/gifts. And these are STEM toys for kids. And there are dozens and dozens of gifts listed there. I just picked a few of my favorites. And one of the things you may have noticed about some of the gifts that we talked about is that you may think about technology as people being in front of screens. But really, for the most part, none of these toys really have a kid in front of screens. They're actually also using their hands a lot. And it's that tactile experience that's so important.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And so many kids, well, I think 9 to 11 was kind of the peak for my girls for crafting things. Mm-hmm. So I love that these, like this one, the computer tech socks, I think would be great. I mean, you're making your own. This is for 12 and up. Yeah. But things that they can make because they loved making, like back in the day, they were bedazzling things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now you can use tech and even 3D printing things when you get up to that age. It's marvelous.
So I have 2 great nieces, and I mean, it's amazing that you can be tech shamed by a 3-year-old. Right? I mean,
exactly
because
right.
I'm not very techie, but I think it's wonderful. I think it's just wonderful that there are lists like this and products like this.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so again, it's actua.ca/gifts. What's your number one favorite on the list?
I would say if I had to pick a number one favorite, it is probably the first robot that I mentioned, little Cosmo robot, because again, I think kids just like the look of these little robots.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you think about the future, I think kids as they get older will be introduced to more and more robots kind of out in the wild. So I think in many ways it's just preparing them for the future that they're about to live in.
Amber Mack, as always, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Well, she said she's magical, mystical, or a power.